From Significant, this is Crack It in an Hour.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Crack It in an Hour, where myself, one of the founders of Significant, and two of my co-founders of Significant get together and try and do exactly what the podcast is, which is crack a big idea in an hour. Say hello, Jesse. Say hello, Roman.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, so this week, Jesse, it's your turn to bring the problem, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm excited.
That's great. Do you want to start the clock?
Yes. You set this up saying we try to crack like a really big problem. And I don't know if this is a really big problem, but it's a problem that I'm sick of.
Okay.
So I've decided that together we're gonna solve it.
Okay, great.
So this one's personal.
Okay, I love it.
So if we don't crack it, I'm gonna be upset. All right, ready? I'm setting the 1 hour timer.
Starting now.
And maybe we'll crack it in less than an hour. Okay. And I'm really excited we're having this conversation because now you both are in the club of dog owners.
Yes.
Just to set
correct.
the stage, right?
Correct.
Simon, you just got a puppy.
I did.
Roman,
Yep.
you got a dog last year. Last year?
Correct,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay. So maybe you also experience this problem, maybe not. Every day when I take my dog on a walk, I realize how many people do not pick up their dog shit. I can't believe it. I can't believe that we live in a society where people do not pick up dog poop in the neighborhoods that they live in.
Right.
In the dog park, in any park, on the sidewalk, in front of other people's houses. It's insane to me.
Okay.
I've had enough.
Okay.
I want to figure out how we get people to pick up their dog shit.
I cannot wait for the part where you give us the data on
Yeah, I
this
was going to say,
problem.
I'm curious to
All
hear
right,
the
let's
data
go.
on this
Let's go.
situation.
Yes. Well, I have many, many pages. Okay. And I'm going to try not to get ahead of myself because there's so many interesting things to talk about when it comes to this. But I would look at this as like, this is a really interesting opportunity to sort of tap into someone's psyche. Like this is really a psychological problem. Like how do you get somebody to do this? So there have been a couple studies on this, usually environmental studies, because the first fact I will tell you is that one of the counter arguments is, oh, it's just fertilizer. Like you don't really need to pick up dog shit because it's just fertilizer. It is not.
That's who says that.
The people that don't pick up their dog's poop say that. But it's not. It's actually very harmful for the environment. But there have been some studies and there is
Dog poop is?
Yeah. I mean, it carries bacteria. It's
Right.
bad for, it's
Yeah.
not good. It's not
Okay.
fertilizer.
Okay.
We're gonna call this the lazy pet owner epidemic, okay? Because
Okay.
obviously we're gonna
I like
raise
it.
the stakes
Yeah.
on this problem. But there are some studies that estimate about 40% of dog owners admit, these are people that have admitted to not picking up after their pet.
What?
And now that's not 40%,
That's in the US?
100% of the time. This is 40%.
But that's in the US.
I would have to double check, but I'm pretty sure it's in the
Because
US.
if you expand it, then I'm not surprised. Because like 95% of people in France will not pick it up.
Really?
It's not part of like, don't you know the famous thing about Paris? It's like when you walk the streets of Paris, you're 100% not going to walk into dog shit.
I did not know that.
Really?
Go to Paris. It's probably changed. I haven't lived there in like whatever 18 years, but it was like that. It was a famous thing. It's like Parisians are rude and you're going to walk in dog shit.
I love it.
Sorry, Jesse, keep going.
No, I don't know. I'm going to put Paris further down on my list of places to visit.
Still the most visited place in the world.
Okay, yeah. I mean, a lot like you don't need a ton of stats really on the fact that it's out there. It's on the sidewalks. Walk outside, you'll see it. But it is a pretty high number of people that just don't do it. I've seen people not do it. I mentioned like a lot of people will sort of say the reason why they don't do it, they think it's fertilizer, but it's actually loaded with bacteria and parasites, salmonella, E. coli. It's pretty bad. It can definitely it's really like if you just think about in parks, it's really dangerous for kids who are playing in parks for other dogs.
Totally.
It's not good. It's not good. there's a massive like economic cost on
The poor
cities.
people who do have to pick up
Yeah,
the poop?
I mean, there's a lot of like garbage collection, paying for cleanup, waste removal. A lot of cities have tried to do awareness campaigns. I think what I see now more than like a citywide campaign around it is like neighborhood by neighborhood, even home by home, people sticking those little signs in
I
their
see
yards
those.
that say, you know, either don't let your dog go here. No one pays attention to that. I've seen some funnier ones where it's like, I don't come to your house and, you know,
totally.
shit in your
There's
yard.
like a culture around
yeah.
this. Yeah.
But the truth is, and I'll give you like my take, is clearly shaming the owner doesn't work, or trying to convince them not to do it is not the answer. So I think, you know, there have been some funny campaigns. There have been passive aggressive notes. There have even been like a couple like, citywide efforts. What I'll tell you is like, I'll give you a couple reasons that people, just to get into the headspace, a couple reasons why people don't do it other than just being like, hey, you're a bad person. Some would say forgetful, or like I ran out of bags. I didn't have any bags. I mean, we live in a city. We live in Los Angeles. In most neighborhoods, you have some of those like dog waste. I don't know what they call them, little disposal boxes, and there are free bags, you know, within those. So, okay, is it a good argument, a bad argument? Maybe there aren't enough of them, but people sort of like didn't plan ahead. Once they're outside, they don't want to go back inside.
Yeah.
They don't have a bag. Okay.
It's gross. Is that one?
Yes, that is one. Like people feel like awkward about it. I mean, don't have a dog if you feel weird about picking up your dog's poop. I think you should feel more awkward about leaving it on the sidewalk, but people think it's gross. Some people are like, hey, it's just, this is back to the fertilizer point. They're like, it's natural. It's just nature. It's going to decompose. It's like wild animal waste.
Right.
So it's fine. It can just live here. That's obviously not true, but also wild animal in the forest, very different than animal in a city where other people have to walk.
I would absolutely leave it if it were in the forest.
100%.
Okay.
Unless it was on a hiking trail, then I would move it.
Move it off the trail.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kick it?
Well,
Depends how healthy your
I'd
body
use
is.
like a leaf and a stick. I don't think I would kick it. You know, there's definitely like the no one's watching.
Yeah.
Like that's certainly
100%.
We see that in many other things too. Like, you know, I'm going to be a good person if someone's watching, but if no one's watching, I'm going to take the
Then I
lazy
don't care.
approach. Then I
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
care.
Which is interesting because it's contradictory to one of the arguments you made like 2 points ago about
Which one?
Very short-term memory loss here. 2 points ago, you said
People
like,
don't always plan ahead.
No, there was another one. I'm getting us lost here, but there was one that was literally the opposite of that. That was they were not doing it because it seemed awkward to other people, and now we're saying they're not doing it.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, different mentalities.
Totally,
I think.
totally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some people feel weird about it. Some people. I think honestly, laziness is a
Massive.
key factor here, and I think
Laziness drives the world.
And I think the idea that like
take.
you know, people behave better when they think they're being watched is just a core part of human society.
Absolutely.
So that is
It's the good old like drop a $20 bill on the sidewalk and then film it depending on whether like people watch or not.
So is the solution just put cameras everywhere?
well, there could be many. So let me ask you. Let's do a choose your own
It's
adventure.
like shit TV.
Okay. Let's come back to that.
We're gonna have a lot of puns on this one.
Yes. Okay. So we can go in two directions right now. I could tell you about a couple things that have been tried in the past.
I would love to hear things that have been tried.
Or, well, don't you want to know option two before you
yes.
choose
Okay,
option one?
sorry.
Or we can talk about some of the potential psychological triggers in how you could begin to shame someone. So do you want a little more history first?
Well, I want to ask a question about the second one. Is you went straight to shaming.
That's true. I think people
And
need to
I don't
be
know.
shamed.
You think you need to be
That's
shamed.
true. That's true. That's my solution.
Let me start by asking a question first.
Yeah.
Is there like what would be the closest parallel, even if it's not perfect, of a similar public awareness?
Litter.
Okay, litter. And so what did they do in the case of litter?
Well, this is, I mean, jokes aside, the reason I go directly to shame is because we live in a very individualistic society, not a collective one. And
You don't tell me where I live.
Yeah, I do actually. This is not Canada, unfortunately. But like literally most of the like, you know, all the, when it comes to littering, when it comes to things like picking up dog poop, you would think the idea that, hey, this is a community and we want to take care of our space and our neighbors and care about each other and care about the environment. Like, unfortunately, these are just lost concepts on our current American society, I will say.
Wow.
So, yeah, I think we very much are not motivated by like the do good. I mean, I will say that's not true in every community, but you see it. All the like do not litter campaigns have mostly been
Not working.
not working. I actually think, I could be wrong on this, but I actually think the slogan "Don't mess with Texas" started as a don't litter campaign, which actually did sort of work, but then it took on a life of its own. But I don't quote me on that. I think that's true.
Okay, second question. What's a similar public awareness campaign that did work? Like, is there any parallels we can draw to like a bad example of something that's not very close, like smoking, right? People smoke way less than they used to, but that's not close to what the problem we're trying to solve here is. I'm just trying to think of something that like I could at least look at and go like, how did they do it? That feels like it's a starting point.
It's a good question.
It is a good question. I don't,
Look, I'm not going to answer your question because I don't know, because I think that would give us the answer immediately and I don't have it. But I can tell you, I can talk about cultural differences for a second.
Yes, please.
So where I grew up with two dogs. And I'm not going to say where to see if we have like loyal listeners because I've said it in other episodes. Obviously it grew up in France and in the 80s and 90s with two dogs in an urban environment. Not a single time in like the 17 years I spent living with my parents did we pick up dog shit. Not a single time.
Right.
We started a company with this guy.
Two dogs, then a third dog. Why? Because it wasn't
part of the norm.
It's just no one would do it.
Yeah.
It's just like no one would expect you to do it.
It was like when seatbelts were introduced, everyone's like, why would I do that?
Yeah, exactly. So not a single time. Then over the last couple decades, now people do it.
Still a low percentage?
It's all based on, you can see it because there's still like way more. That's why when you introduced the problem, Jesse, I was like, is that a problem here? I never see dog shit. I never see it.
You live in a nice neighborhood.
No, but I never, like I see it and it's probably there, but the volume is so insignificant compared to what I grew up with. I'm like, there's just nothing there. Everything's great, clean. I see litter everywhere.
Yeah.
That is insane. But dog shit, I'm like, yeah, cool. People are great. It's changed in Paris a lot. More people pick it up, but it's still nothing compared to here. And I think it's solely based on whether you're alone or people see you. You talked about this.
Yeah.
It's the only moment people do it. It's like the perception of others.
Yeah.
It's the only moment. Otherwise, people don't do it. And lots of Parisians go be like, yeah, fuck off. You went expat 17 years ago. You don't know shit. Whatever. I still go there on an annual basis. And I'm like, yeah, cleaner than before, but more than anywhere I've seen in America. So I do think like the look, the perception of others, whatever we call it, is a massive reason why people do it just as a just human behavior.
100%. And I think we're going to come back to that probably a couple times because it's probably the starting point of many solutions to the problem. And it can't just be, I'll tell you some of the things that have been tried in the past, some that have worked to varying degrees. But I think there are some other interesting like sub points to what you're talking about. For example, is somebody else watching? Huge component. But then there's like an interesting psychological split off of that, which is that people are more, they're more freaked out at the thought of a stranger having a bad perception of them than someone they know. Yeah. Which is really interesting because you would think it would be the opposite.
Yeah, totally.
You would think that like you care way more about what your friends think about you, but I guess you feel very confident in your friendships, and most people are so stressed out about what a stranger thinks about them. So that to me already begins to talk about like, okay, how do you dial that up a little bit? Because it's not, you can't just, I think the problem, if I was going to identify a singular flaw, and it's hard to do, but a singular flaw with maybe what's been done before, it's at a very kind of generic scale. Like either be better for your community or be a better person, or hey, you're a bad neighbor, even if you take the opposite approach. Don't be a bad neighbor, but that's still very generic versus like, hey, this neighbor hates you.
This person thinks you're gross.
Yeah, now you're suddenly like, oh my God, the neighbor hates me. I've never met the neighbor, but now I'm really stressed out that the neighbor hates me. So we can come back to that, but I think there's some really interesting psychological.
So if a sign said, don't make people hate you, don't make strangers hate you, pick up your dog.
I think you have to go even further than that, but yes.
That's the starting point.
I think that's one of the starting points. I have got another one that I won't jump to yet, but I've got an idea.
Is it old school rap where it's people going, "Hey everybody, have you heard the word picking up poop? It's really cool," or something like that?
No, keep going.
Because I feel like that would work really well. Anyways, moving on.
Oh God.
That is a viable option, and we'll come back to that one for sure.
Okay, let's keep talking here.
Okay, so there was one of the first citywide led efforts was in the 70s in New York City. There was like a Scoop the Poop campaign. I think it was I did not go.
It probably was a rap song.
Yeah,
I got something here too.
Yeah, go ahead.
New York in the 70s was a trash pile. Right? Like famously.
I wasn't around.
Like famously, it was like dealing with a lot of stuff. So if it was like, hey, by the way, clean up poop, I'd be like, I'm sorry, I live beside an exploded factory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I mean, these are just some of the like most famous public awareness campaigns. I think there was in the UK, they attempted something that was like a glow in the dark spray paint approach, just to basically like shame owners by over highlighting the poop piles. Like, so now imagine like at night walking around. So they're like spraying the piles of poop left around with glow in the dark spray paint.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
I don't even know who that shames.
Well, exactly. That's what I mean is I think that there hasn't been enough specificity. And like you really have to make a psychological attack on people. And I know that sounds really dark, but I think just because
you want to psychologically attack people who leave poop out.
Individually too. Because, like if you spray paint a pile of poop, you're basically like, you're highlighting the problem. You're not putting the responsibility on those who did it. You're just like, now look at all of these piles of poop around the city that glow in the dark. And like,
yeah, exactly. You just created a light show out of poop.
And like, am I supposed to now pick up after other people?
Yeah, exactly.
And that always pisses me off.
There's no attribution.
Totally. That's you got to put a little flag in it,
It's good to talk about poop through attribution.
Guys, I just had a memory flash of when I grew up. There was that thing in Paris. All the French people are going to laugh when they hear this. There was that thing in Paris that was called motocrotte. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
It's a crotte is a dog poop. It's like a poop. It's a motorbike that was meant to vacuum poop.
Really?
Yes.
Did it work?
I just had a massive. So basically, it was part of like the public sanitary services.
Whoa!
So you had like the garbage trucks, and then you had the motocrotte, and the motocrotte would literally be like, just imagine a big motorbike like a cop motorbike, but behind it
Oh
is,
my
is a
God.
massive trunk, and they would go and ride from dog poop to dog poop with like literally
That's amazing.
literally a vacuum and bloop, they would get the cut.
But the
in
city was
thing.
probably paying for this?
100%. I mean,
Yeah.
the tax dollars
Yeah.
are paying for this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what it was. So that was part cleaning up, not
Yes.
solving the problem.
Yes, and that's a good distinction, because what I want to do is I want to
wanna
solve the problem. I
Okay.
don't want to make
We wanna change
I have a
behavior.
bad idea that's going to work.
Change behavior. Let's hear it.
Most things that are related to public whatever safety,
Health.
what
Health.
environment, whatever, health to a certain degree usually is, like you it's punishment. So you got to fine people. You leave your poop on the sidewalk, you got to pay for it. So if a cop sees you, like, bup, what was that? Boom.
Is leaving poop ticketable?
But I'm saying make it ticketable.
Yeah, I know, but
Ticketable.
is it already or no?
I actually don't know, but
don't
I'd be
know.
curious how well that's worked for littering, because there are signs everywhere that say, littering,
Yeah.
whatever, up to
$500.
$5,000. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've never
yeah.
seen anybody get a ticket.
Yeah, fair enough.
For littering, and I've never seen. I think because to your point, somebody has to enforce it. Somebody has to
And they have-
watch
Can I give
it.
you another reason
And they have
too?
other things to do.
There's always an easy, it blew out of my hand. You could always play that with littering. I didn't litter, it blew out of my hand.
Yeah, poop
It
is a little
sounds
more
like
difficult.
you've used that excuse. Okay, but you know how now there are those little autonomous robots that deliver food?
Yeah.
But that's not solving the problem.
No. But I'm
No.
saying they
You-
could
you
be
put
the
a camera
ticket.
on them, and
they're the ticket
they're
So like
enforcers.
you make a poop patrol.
a poop patrol.
Poop patrol. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
The combination of motocross and poop patrol.
But I still
Automated.
in my dream world.
But is it just that's
in my dream world? I want, and I know I'm asking a lot of humanity here, but I want people to change.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're talking about change. So like the poop patrol, for example, though, this is dark and very misanthropic, and I don't think we want to live in this society. But the second you take your dog for a walk, a poop patrol follows behind you, watching you the entire walk to see if you're gonna. Yeah. So that's
Absolutely.
a terrible
CCTV.
world.
It's
I don't
basically-
want to live in that world, but
Yeah, but it's basically CCTV. Like you go to London today, there's not a single corner of London where you're not filmed.
right.
I did read about, and I didn't go deep on it, and I can't remember where it was. So this was part of a lot of
good.
reading I did on dog shit, but which now my
you gotta have
algorithm's
a
really
very
weird
strange-
right now. But there was like an infrared based poop patrol situation at one point, which were like heat sensitive cameras to spot the piles. But again, it was a cleanup process more than, and there have actually been a bunch of apps created to try to solve this problem.
How do the apps work?
They're all more about like everything is
Spotting it?
reactive. It's all like identification, spotting it for cleanup. There have been some like drone based things in testing for like city cleanup crews. Like it's all a little bit more on the city and how to help the city. Yeah, you could pay. Some of the apps are like pay based, so you can pay. It's like a service where you could pay somebody else to come pick it up, which I just don't. I think
That's
if
depressing.
you're the kind of person that's just going to leave it there,
That's
I doubt
depressing.
you're the kind of person
Yeah.
that would pay to have
We'll
somebody.
clean up your
yeah.
poo. Just tell us where you left it. That seems weird.
And then when apps like Nextdoor and sort of those neighborhood type apps started popping up, there was definitely a little bit of like posting photos and videos of offenders in like community
But
groups
did that
or
work,
like in
or
Facebook
was it just
groups.
like I'm mad?
Yeah, it was a little. I mean, I don't know how often the offender themselves was caught in the act versus there being a post of like, okay, this is the third time I've seen dog shit in front of my yard. Whoever's doing that, but definitely community
Shut it
groups
out.
got heated, but not not a lot of successful behavior change initiatives.
Okay, where do we start? You think it's shame?
Yes, and I could start by giving you prompts if we want to
Sure.
go here, that basically talk about some different psychological triggers that you could use to shame people. And then I have then I want to take us somewhere else, but we'll start here if that works, unless there are any other questions.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Okay. Let's go back to the neighbor one. Like, no one wants to be the neighbor that everybody is whispering about, that everybody talks about. Like, the thing about shaming is it only works when visibility and accountability are both very high. Like, if you're shaming in abstract, then everyone's like, oh, it's probably somebody
Like
else.
if
It
it's
wasn't
like,
me.
society's upset. You're like, I don't care.
And like, I'm curious why you guys think it's true that we care more about a stranger's judgment than we do about anybody else's.
Well, okay. I can give you my hot take on that. I think when you said neighbor, that was kind of the key differentiator for me, which is like community is close enough. A community is close enough such that you have to interact with these people, but you don't know everyone. So the idea of like, if I'm dropping my kids off at my school and the school community, there's people among them who every time I drop it off don't like me. It makes my life more uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean?
Discomfort.
Like there's a sense of like, well, that sucks. I don't like knowing some people here think I'm gross. You know what I mean? So that's why when you said neighbor, that to me felt like it's not, to your point, I think it's not just stranger. It's like faceless neighbor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, like,
Here comes the next door strategy, you guys.
yeah, I know. There's got to be an answer on next door. I think the thing about, I would just take it like one step further. Everybody loves to gossip, but nobody likes to be the topic of gossip. And the thing about neighbors is, right? I mean, it's true.
No, sorry.
The thing about neighbors is you might not know the neighbor, but someone you know in the neighborhood knows the neighbor.
Totally.
So you're imagining they're sitting around having a glass of wine, having a beer, and they're talking about you.
No, like that's my neighborhood. Like, you know what I mean? Like as a part of like the school I drop my kids off is literally 3 blocks away. And like and a lot of people we know who go to that school are living within 8 blocks of us. You know what I mean? And so I have that feeling of like, if I go to school and I drop my kids off and I fart in front of everyone, I'm probably going to be the topic of gossip that night around a bunch of places in my neighborhood. And like, to be clear, I am not saying, how dare you neighbors talk about me farting at school or anything like that. I'm just saying that's kind of what I imagine to be the case.
So how do you use that is the question. And maybe this is not the path to the answer, but I think about, like, it is almost in a way easy to go to messaging first, but I do think you have to go beyond that at some point. But I think about like everyone is talking about you.
To me, like this is like a very dumb solution that I think would actually work.
Go on.
Here's like my very awful, completely undoable solution is anytime someone in the neighborhood has their dog poop and they don't clean it up, immediately as that dog finishes pooping and they start walking away, a neighbor comes from like behind a tree, walks by them and just gives a look like gross.
Yeah.
And keeps walking past. That would work.
Guys, I'm not joking. It's next door.
Yeah.
But next door, here's my problem with next door. How do you get to I can't believe we're talking about this word, but how do you ever get attribution? Because like my thing is like, I don't think it would work if you're like, are you saying on Nextdoor you take a photo of people in the process of walking away from poop?
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's like similar to Nextdoor. Sometimes you have, for public safety reasons, spotted that car, burnt a red light, and did a hit and run. Boom, picture. Same. You do the hit and run version of someone who just.
But it's on Nextdoor, so it's this guy. This guy's dog pooped on my lawn, and he did nothing about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there has to be.
I can tell you, and I'm sure it's the same
think that
for
actually
you, Jesse.
would
Maybe
work.
not yet for you, Simon, because you used to have a puppy.
Yeah.
When you start walking your dog, you usually use like a combination of 2-3 different routes, but they're usually the same.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just even one.
Yeah.
And so you get to know the dogs of the neighborhood.
Right.
Big time.
I know the dogs of the neighborhood. And sometimes the owner changes. I'm like, oh, that dog. Okay, so you mean that owner lives with that other owner that I saw.
Totally.
Okay, and so at some point, you know. And if you start posting on Nextdoor and there's like the
yeah,
equivalent
that's
of
true.
like r/dog shit, like the dog shit Reddit of Nextdoor, then you get
Absolutely.
you get to find the people.
And
Because I think enforcement might be the only way to do it, but I don't think it should be public enforcement. It's got to be community enforcement. No tax dollars can be spent.
No,
on
no
this,
tax
you
dollars
guys.
can be
It's
spent
like-
on this.
it's
No.
like there's other problems.
There's way
to
bigger
fix.
problems.
So it's got to be community enforcement, and I think Nextdoor is literally built for that, to help each other as neighbors, and that's what you're going to be doing.
And I think what people should do is break down the, like, if let's
So
say the
dark.
community bands together on Nextdoor and we're like, all right, we're now the poop patrol, and we're going to work in shifts, because not only do I know the dogs in the neighborhood, but I walk my dog. I'm part of the 6:30 a.m. crowd.
Oh my God.
And if I have a morning where I sleep in or something different, the morning's different, and I'm suddenly in the 7:30 a.m. or the 8 a.m. walking crowd, I'm like, who are all these dogs? Like, I literally don't know these dogs.
Okay, but here's my thing. Here's my thing is I saw that. Well done. Here's my thing, honestly. The more people on Nextdoor are like, we gotta, like, being more militant about it.
That's true.
It
That's a
actually has the
dangerous-
adverse effect where I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give my dog like Metamucil and just let him go crazy, because this is so absurd. Like the
you.
problem. Can I tell you
No,
the
he's
problem?
not wrong,
No, can I tell
though.
you the problem with this problem?
Yeah.
The problem with this problem is it's annoying but benign. So if
Yeah.
you take it seriously, it looks
People
like you're
rebel.
taking it way too
Yeah,
seriously.
that's fair. The problem with the problem is it's a non-problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's like one of those funny things that it's like, yeah, the second you're like, I'm going to make this my mission, people are like, well, that guy's weird. And then
That's
you
when
lose credibility.
No, that's when you use comedy.
That's true.
100%.
If you use comedy on Nextdoor and you have like whatever
So like
The-
you have like
Batman for
you have
dog
people
shit.
you have people roast the dog poop levers.
Yeah, or you literally create like a superhero who's there to pick up dog poop and denounce.
Well, did you
people.
guys ever see the there's a YouTube channel of the guy who all he does is he sits in parking lots and waits to see who returns their carts?
Yes.
And then he threw that lazy bones
Yes.
magnet on their thing.
Yes.
I don't know if he actually helped to improve the ability to do carts, but that's
me
kind of
more,
what you're
tell me
talking
more.
about.
What does he do? I don't know
It's a
that guy.
huge. It became a huge thing where, and basically all this guy.
This is
Go
one of
ahead.
my second biggest pet peeves next to leaving
Carts?
dog shit is people not
so
returning their carts.
This guy basically created an entire YouTube channel where all he does is he sits in parking lots of supermarkets and he waits to see if people are going to return their carts to the kind of like cart parking area or not. And if he doesn't, if they don't, he'll like go up to them and be like, excuse me, I'm just curious, like, why didn't you return your cart? And like sometimes people are like, oh, you know what? It was kind of far away. Sometimes people have a good reason. Sometimes people are getting to just a huge argument with him.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. And then if you don't return it, I think he puts a magnet on your car that says I'm a lazy bones or something like that.
It's a great comparison.
But
It's the same thing.
It
because
is.
like that to me is like a perfect example of something that it's like you brought it up. It's like he uses humor. He uses a little bit of like disarming, but I don't know if that problem's solvable.
So I don't know either, but I will say there's an interesting thought in my mind around the delayed effect or consistency of messaging that might be important to this, because, you know, whenever you're embarrassed, you double down on being defensive because you're embarrassed, right? So if
Or you
you're-
run.
or you run.
Yeah.
And so usually what happens is like you think about that moment 10 more times
yeah.
over the next 2 weeks, and like you
Here's
have
what I
that
should've
inner like you're mad, but you're mad because you know that person was right and you're
Correct.
a shithead.
Yeah.
So there's something to me about I don't know if it solves it, but I wonder if you have to be a little bit consistent or repetitive in the approach so that you like after a while you don't want that feeling anymore and you decide to change your behavior. And maybe you'll never change.
Can I flip it just to ask the question and
Yeah.
you're probably going to kill it right away? Is instead of, a punishment strategy? Is there a reward strategy that could work?
Absolutely. Gamification and like
Gamification.
So, like,
my God,
let's just start treating everyone like they're children. Like you get a gold star if you pick up your
like could you make bags that somehow gamify it? I don't want to get gross.
You could make it's just a tactical version of that. Some cities have, let's call them dog poop disposal.
Right.
Then you get points, whatever it is. You get things. You get credit card points. You get
so
miles,
you basically say every time you dump a poop into this basket, you'll get 10 air miles for your favorite airline.
Exactly. That would work.
That would work?
That would work, but that's the same as the motocrotte. That would clean it up. That wouldn't change the behavior. Like, you see what I mean? It's not.
You're not changing society.
In my mind, though, it gets a little bit.
You're making it worse.
Yeah, we're maybe making it a little worse.
Well, it's just turning people into children. Like that's how I usually get my children to do something. Is
Absolutely.
I need to tack on a reward.
You can have a piece of candy.
Let's talk about parenting.
I would love to talk about. I think on our last episode, you guys told me not to talk about kids anymore. After I wanted to send all of the children to what was it?
I forget.
A magic academy. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
Whatever, it's fine. No, but gamify. You can either gamify the shaming or you create a reward system around it, which is interesting. Like I don't believe this would work, but just to talk about it, if the idea of leaving poop behind, like forget the people who don't pick it up, start focusing on the people who do. Because now if you start, let's say you start rewarding those people.
So you have someone pop out and go, hey, I saw what you did there. Here's a $50 gift
Exactly. You're an A+ member of the community.
Can I ask you a philosophical question?
Yeah.
And I know you like behavior related stuff. Do you think people don't do it because it's human nature or because we live in a capitalistic, individualistic society?
I think it's the individualistic society, which I think has increased laziness.
Yeah.
Let me ask a question.
Is there a society where you think?
I was gonna say, like, do you think
people clean it just because it's good for the community?
The one my head went
for example,
to,
Nordic countries.
100%.
I went to Japan. You know what I mean? Like, just like and it actually, my Japan one popped more about the carts. I was like, I wonder if in Japan people always return their carts. But but like that was kind of like where my head went to, which is like, because when you told me about France, I had no idea that was the case in France.
Yeah.
Canada is pretty similar to the US as far as like how much of a ratio of poop I see on the ground.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Canada is like the 51st state anyway. So
I forgot that
We just lost all our Canadian listeners.
Yeah. I forgot that I had the Paris motorized vacuum scooters here in my notes.
There you go. Motocrotte.
I just forgot. I did too much poop research.
So let me ask you this then, just going full circle here. Do you think the shaming thing would change behavior for good, or do you think it would only last as long as that campaign was around? Or are you suggesting you make shaming a part of the cultural fabric around poop pickup?
Okay. Well, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to open a new door.
Perfect.
For us. And it's going to be in the world of shaming, but it's going to open a slightly different door because we have 22 minutes left.
Yeah.
And I will admit I walked into this one thinking I might know something that would work.
Okay.
Admittedly, maybe. We'll see what you guys think.
This is breaking protocol.
I know.
It is breaking protocol. Yeah.
Well, we're just going to go there.
All
anyway.
right, keep going.
It's fine.
But it's rooted in a psychology because I was thinking about.
Now this is a pitch. You realize that, right? Like now you're pitching.
Yeah, and I'm
something.
really good at that.
So you, first of all, you are really good at it, but it changes the dynamic now because now.
I'm not pitching anything. I'm taking you on another psychological journey.
That's what you would say if you were pitching me something.
100%.
No. At the end, you're going to think this was your idea. And I'm going to say, absolutely, it was. Okay. Here's the thing about dog owners. And you're a new dog owner.
Correct.
You're not quite there. I don't know if you're there. I'm certainly here. dog owners are crazy about their dogs. Most dog owners, pretty crazy about the dog. And actually,
in LA or in the world?
I would say I will speak for the US. I will say significantly across the US.
Okay.
Like even in the last 10 years, the number of places that have become dog friendly, bring your dog to restaurants, bring your dog in stores. Like there's
only place I've traveled to where if you ask people if they have kids, they tell you no, but I have a dog.
America.
Mm-hmm.
And people, like back to the neighborhood thing, people are really, as somebody who has a complicated dog, people are not only concerned about how you view them, but they are incredibly anxious about how you perceive their dog. They want people to think you have a good dog. They want their dog to be, perceived well. And I was starting to think about how, like, people defend their dog's behavior, even really bad behavior in public.
Yeah, they do.
And how people feel like more insulted when someone criticizes their dog than when you criticize them directly. Like,
so if
people
someone says,
really
I don't like your dog, it hurts you more.
You more than somebody say. And there was a survey, it's older now, but done by Rover, that talked about how a majority of dog owners said they feel more insulted when someone criticizes their dog than when someone criticizes them directly. And I believe that personally. Like you see how people get really defensive. You see how it's weird because dogs have become almost an extension of the self, especially for people who don't have kids. The dog is literally like extension of you. And for some reason, even when you see the animal as an extension of you, you take it way too personally when you criticize the dog.
If we already live in a culture where someone thinks they can respond to, do you have kids, with no, but I have a dog, just taking that parallel one step further, I know I get more offended when someone insults my kids than they insult me.
I think that's different.
Okay.
I have a counter to that.
Okay.
I think there's just the human protection as a parent of like I don't know how you call it in English, like your child.
Because I was
it's a thing. It's like
you are you get your back up right
like
away.
There's something
it's primal.
It's primal.
Yeah.
It's primal. It's like protection of your kids.
Yeah.
And it's embedded in us. And if someone attacks, quote unquote, your kids, then suddenly there's something that flips in your brain where you're like,
I don't like you.
I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I just start to wonder.
Here we go.
You can shame the owner. You could reward the people who are doing it right, or you can shame the dog. And what would happen if you started to really call out, like you make an absolute mockery of these dogs that can't do it themselves, but you put the blame on them, and therefore the level of embarrassment against the owner is like 10x.
I'm asking this question honestly, even though it doesn't sound like a genuine question. How could you do that without looking like an idiot? Do you know what I mean? Because like, how would you be able to go like, get a load of this stupid dog? It can't even clean up. You know what I mean?
Well, for example, you were talking about how you walk around the neighborhood and you know all the dogs of the neighborhood. Like, I know the dogs more than I know the owners. I know all the dogs' names. And we were talking about, surveillance of the owner. The same idea we were talking about at the beginning, but what if instead of posting a photo of the owner in Nextdoor, you start posting photos of the dog?
Said this dog.
Because the owner,
Wanted.
my point is the owner is more motivated to protect the dog's reputation.
What do you think, Roman?
I don't think I buy it, because I think it's still about the way you've trained or educated, whatever word you want to use, your dog. I think it's still about, it's still you.
100%.
And I think similar to like that cup of soda just flew off my hand. You can say, that's not my dog. Like there's like a million of those.
No, that I don't agree with.
They all look alike.
No.
You see what I mean? Like, what kind of photo do you show? How do you actually track it? I don't.
No, but okay, I want to back up.
I'm
not saying that this is not about the owner. I'm saying this is a different channel through which to reach the owner that might have significantly higher impact than directly going after the owner. Because if people are feel way more upset, motivated to action, more insulted by their dog being shamed in the neighborhood, then why do we keep going after the owner directly when we should go after their dogs as a way to motivate and change the behavior of the owner? And I'll give you another.
Are we getting a peek under the hood of like Jesse's psychology here? Is it like what?
I get really upset when like, people say mean things about my dog.
I wouldn't get that upset. It's like my dog's a dog, right? Like my dog's not wired to know where to take a shit. And when it comes to now I'm outside, I can take a shit because that's how she was trained. Like it's like if you're not inside the home and you're on the street, you can take a shit. It's gonna be my job to pick it up.
I think you're
like.
Yeah, but I think you're taking what I'm saying too literally. I'm not saying it's the dog's fault. I'm saying use the dog.
Yeah, but totally. No, I am giving you a peek. I'm telling you how I would think. If my dog were shamed, I would be like, yeah, my dog's a dog, so it's okay. I as the owner, take it okay because my dog's not supposed to do anything different than... It's still not
okay, let me
in
give you,
my head, not
me,
the dog's fault. So cool, shame my dog.
Let's back up 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is a reason. Think about like the this famous like Sarah McLachlan like pet AS.
I will remember you.
Yeah, the dog ad. So like people use sad dogs in adoption ads because people feel more compelled to act when they think an animal's feelings is being hurt. Like if you, I mean, animals are living creatures, but if you like personify that even further, this dog is so sad, their feelings are hurt.
100%.
Like it works. It's worked in other adjacent categories. So forget the shaming thing. Yeah. My point is that if you could say something to a person and they take it one way, but if you suddenly start using the dogs themselves as a channel through which to change behavior, it's proven in other ways. And in this specific instance, people are way more insulted by you insulting their dog. So I'm just saying it's highly motivating. But what if you started to anthropomorphize the animals as a way to, whether it's like the dogs are sad. Maybe we need a lawyer for the dogs. The dogs are upset. Like your dog is mad that you don't pick up their poop actually. And now we have the poop law firm that's going to start representing your dog because they think your dog needs better representation. All it is saying is you're a bad dog owner.
So you
go through the channel of the dog and maybe you have a different impact.
So
Patrol.
you need to build a culture of shunning a dog on behalf of trying to change their owner's behavior.
Or you don't have to shame the dog. Like what if the dog is embarrassed by their own owner? My dog, like give the dog a voice.
That's anthropomorphizing a belief. You can't ever prove that.
I mean, but it's a proven method for actually changing a behavior.
Sure, but there is an intellectual hurdle here that you're jumping over and kind of ignoring a little bit. Like, let me give you an example, okay? Like, if you said to me, here's what we're going to do, guys. We all live in the same neighborhood. There's like 10 dogs. We have 3 of them. We talked to, the other 5 other people. And we were like, guys, let's do this. When Bill, who always has his dog poop on all our lawns, comes by, why don't we just start like ignoring his dog and acting like his dog isn't that cool in a means to get him to start changing or picking up the poop. I'm like, I could kind of see that working, sort of. But it's a big ask from people.
I'm going to give you an even simpler idea. Like, let's go back to the thing we talked about at the very beginning, which is the signs on people's lawns, which just says like, don't let your dog shit here. Don't whatever. Please be a good neighbor and pick up, there's positive, there's negative. If you switch those signs to your dog is disappointed in you.
You think that works?
I do. Maybe. I'm like, I think there is a real possibility. I do not think this would solve 100% of the problem, but I think there's a real possibility that shifting the narrative to saying either your dog, either we're shaming the dog as a means to shame the owner, or you create a rift between the dog and the owner and use the dog as a channel. I think it's possible.
So let me give you a TV spot. We open on...
I've been waiting.
We open on a dog walking down the street. Sarah McLachlan, sad music playing. I Will Remember You playing. The dog's looking really sad. Sarah McLachlan pops out and she's like, for the last 6 months, for this dog's entire life, this dog has been dealing with an owner who doesn't clean up after him. As I Will Remember You continues to play, it's like, please don't let your dog feel disappointed. Give in and start picking up dog poop today. Do you think that could work?
Yes.
I'm not saying that's a perfect execution, but
I think it
would. Okay, here's what I would say about it. I think it would get people's attention.
100%.
I can't tell if it would change behavior or not, though. Roman, you're saying no.
No, yeah, I don't think I buy it.
Yeah.
I think it's stronger to go straight at the owner than through the dog.
I don't agree.
Because you're trying to get to the same thing, but you're just adding a layer.
Yeah, but if a person
Your
is
dog's
if a person
disappointed
is
in you is like, my dog doesn't think that far.
I think
relationship
you
with
are
his dog is
not
so
a
different than
typical
yours.
dog owner. You are ignoring.
That's not true. Like, everybody's its own version of a dog owner.
Okay. Well, we have 9 minutes left.
Wow.
I'm
Okay.
guessing we're not solving this one.
No,
Well-
I just disagree with that solve.
Okay.
Well, for what it's worth, we were talking about Japan, and this is something that Japan did quite successfully, using
When did Japan have a dog poop problem?
public service posters showing dogs crying next to uncollected poop, and people felt embarrassed
and it worked?
because it implied that they were making their dog look bad.
And it worked?
Supposedly.
When did anything that worked in Japan, it was a highly civilized society, work in
that's-
the US or in
Nintendo.
Europe?
Sushi.
No, from
There's so many great things.
Period.
Yeah.
Walkman.
Anime.
I'm with Simon.
From a marketing standpoint, I'm saying.
Have you guys been in a mini-so? It's great.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Okay. I don't know where we are right now on this.
I
one.
think
We've talked
it's-
about poop for 50 minutes.
I think it's enforcement through community and with humor. I think to me that's the way.
What do you think, Jesse?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think there are even other solutions. There are community-based solutions. There are technology-based solutions. There are shame-based solutions, like punishment-based solutions. And I think we probably talked about a couple different. I think technology is the one that honestly people have tried, and I think is almost, to your point earlier about this being a problem that's not really a problem. You
Yeah.
don't need to give it, like, no one needs an app to solve
No.
this problem. So I'm with you, Roman. I think, well, obviously I think using the dog is the answer. We all know that at this point, but I do think it is a community based. I think you have to make it specific, not generic. I think you have to bring it down to the community level. I think you have to call out people in particular, not just like a be a good neighbor type messaging. I think we're mostly aligned on those points.
I just like when we get down to brass tacks, I just keep trying to figure out a way where it's not killing a butterfly with a bazooka. You know what I mean?
100%,
Like
yeah.
it's a way where you can actually go like, this is a seamless, easy thing. Cause like there's problems with simple problems with simple fixes. And then there's big problems with tougher fixes that are both sort of like like you can say to people, if you keep smoking, lung cancer is real. And people go, okay, that might be a tough behavior to crack addiction and all these sort of things, but I see the reason why I need to do it. You know what I mean? And then on the flip side, I'm sure we could all point to certain things in our lives that are just like, hey, these are, put a napkin on when you're eating, you slob. You know what I mean? Things like that.
Yeah.
But this is one of those ones where it's like, unless the culture is sort of like like what I keep going to, and this is the toughest part I have, is like, it's almost like a reflection of the culture. And
Totally.
I just keep wondering, like, if the culture, Like, how do you do it on a level where you don't have to fundamentally shift culture? Because that feels like, again, a bazooka butterfly situation.
The reason I went to the dog, despite whether you agree with it or not, is because to me, the fighting a butterfly with a bazooka is saying people are inherently selfish and lazy, so let's make them less selfish. Let's show them that the collective is important and not to be selfish. That's fucking hard. That's probably not going to work, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Convincing people that, you know, being a good neighbor is better than being a selfish neighbor. So I'm like, okay, play into somebody's like ego, play into their selfishness, play into their superior, like, what's the word? Like when you know,
superiority.
You think that you and your dog are
the bee's knees.
Yeah, the bee's knees. Exactly. So be like, like you, I think you have to play, unfortunately, this is not the society I wish to live in, but I think you have to play into that rather in order to change behavior. You have to trick people.
Yeah, but you said something that's very interesting that I think is the part that I'm struggling with a little bit, which is if people are inherently selfish and lazy, how do you get them to crack their laziness to enforce this?
I think you have to make it a bruise on the ego, which is why I go to shaming, because now it's back to, it's not about what you're doing for the good of others. It's literally doing it so no one talks about you. You're doing it. You're changing the behavior for a selfish reason.
You're just acting accordingly.
Yeah. Or so people still like your dog, or so that people, you know, so that nobody thinks that you're a bad dog owner. I think you have to go the angle of selfish.
You could have like an anonymous poop report line where people could anonymously report dogs for pooping on their lawn, and then like at the local like dog park or something, you could put their face up of people who've been reported.
Yeah, and then here's my idea that will never ever happen or work, but since we have 4 minutes left, I'm going to tell you, just because I wish that, you know, Amazon would use their money to help fix problems. Amazon literally at every door basically every day.
Yeah.
So what if part of, and I don't want to put this actually on the driver, so I don't even love this idea, but I'm going to tell you anyway where my thought process went. Every Amazon driver also has a box like that looks like an Amazon box, but it's designed to pick up poop without them having to touch it. Let's just imagine it's almost
so
like
the Amazon people have to do it?
No, I'm saying this is what I don't like about this idea. So let's skip past that part because I don't love that idea, but I just want to get you to the to the thought process. Because I'm just thinking about who's in the neighborhood more than literally anyone. Amazon at your door. What if you could gift the dog shit back to the owner, but disguised in an Amazon box? I don't really know where it goes, but
just have them have flags, and they can put like the address of, like, they see things, they can just track people. Just plant a flag in the shit.
They're watching us.
Exactly.
Anyway,
no, I think you could find plenty of people if you wanted to, but that's a different.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. All right.
I keep thinking. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Jesse.
no, you go.
I keep thinking that. I obviously don't know exactly, but I keep actually thinking you two, it's like a combination of two things you're talking about, which is, I think there's something interesting in the shaming and shaming even the dog. And I also keep thinking with problems like this, humor is a great disarmer of it too. Like it allows you to disarm and talk about something either overly seriously and then people go, ha ha ha, but seriously, that is a bit of a problem. Or underplay it and people go like, ha ha ha, I haven't ever actually thought about that. You know what I mean? So I kind of keep going like, I don't know. If I was to work on starting like the tonality of kind of how we could best enforce this, I do feel like humor would have to be a part of it. Because
agree.
Even like doing a humorous version of like dog shaming, just kind of like, I think that would get my attention. I can't tell if it would be effective or not, but it would at least draw my attention to the problem.
I agree. Just because it's not that big of a problem.
Yeah.
Because
like,
there's bigger problems to fix. So you have to approach it with like a bit of self-awareness.
Like even dog poop bags with a company's tagline, which is like, don't be the bane of your neighbor's existence. You know what I mean? Like the entire culture around it, almost having a little bit of humor to it as a means to draw attention to it and also sort of.
Yeah. I mean, that's even interesting. Like when we talked about like in major cities, like the dog poop disposals that are placed around the city. Like that is a channel that's really discreet right now. Like I know that they've created it in order to help people, but it's not actually being used to send any kind of message.
Yeah.
It's just there. So even that as a channel could be interesting.
Or my 80s hip hop rap.
Yeah. Do you want to sing it for us again?
No, I think we all guys, when you drop that much goodness in one, you got to remember
it's an earworm.
You just have to remember it.
Okay. We'll go back to that.
Yeah, there's no repeats.
I think that actually could become our jingle. Okay. We have 45 seconds.
Wrap us up,
so
Jesse.
I think, I'm going to ask you whether we cracked it, but I think I'll just, for a recap, I'll say, I don't think we're aligned on the solution, but I do think that we are aligned on a couple things. You have to make it specific. You have to make it individual. We need to use humor. We are inherently, at least here in the US, in a pretty selfish society. So talking about sort of for the good of everybody else is not really the angle that's going to work. And I think that might be, and it's a problem that's not really a problem. So if you take it too seriously, then it actually backfires and you're giving your dog Metamucil to shit on everyone else's lawn.
For all the dog owners out there, I don't even know how I would give my dog Metamucil. I don't think it would eat it. Sorry. I just want to clarify that I'm not going to abuse my dog.
Yeah, that's important. That's a very important clarification.
Also, Nextdoor is not a sponsor.
For the sake of wrapping it up, Simon, did we crack it?
No, we didn't crack it. But I think the reasons we can't crack it are the reasons why this would be such a insanely hard thing to spend a lot of time, resources, and assets for such minimal returns. I don't know. I honestly question whether this problem, I bet you could solve it, but is it ever going to be worth the investment?
I agree.
All right. I'm just going to make my own dog shaming campaign. So I still believe in that idea.
I feel like you got a real vendetta with a few people in your neighborhood.
All right.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Crack It in an Hour. If you like the show, please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you have questions, thoughts, or feedback, shoot us an email at hello@crackitpodcast.com or on Instagram @crackitpodcast. Music done by Michael Anastasi, cover art shot by Mick Mint, and all things audio and video taken care of by Nathan Nash. See you next time.